Have you ever wondered why some movies from the 90s still feel like they were locked in a vault on purpose? Films that push tone, atmosphere, and creativity so far that entire countries quietly stepped away from them. In a decade filled with glossy blockbusters, a few directors chose another path. They made films that were bold, strange, and too intense for some audiences. What you're about to see isn't just a list. It's a look into the forgotten corners of 90s cinema, where things were pushed just a little further than expected. Number 15, Cannibal, 1999. Imagine a film that plays like a diary you were never meant to read. Cannibal from the late 90s isn't loud or chaotic. Instead, it takes a calm, almost quiet approach to a subject that many viewers found emotionally heavy. Shot in Germany with a low budget and an unapologetically raw style, the film follows two people whose unusual agreement leads to a chain of events that become the foundation of controversy. Rather than relying on intense visuals, the director uses long silences, still shots, and a documentary-like rhythm to create a feeling of slow, creeping unease. When it premiered, several countries reacted strongly, not because of graphic scenes, but because the film explored themes that many felt crossed emotional boundaries. Censors were concerned about the overall tone and the psychological weight the story carried. Some regions placed immediate restrictions on screenings, while others quietly avoided distributing it altogether. Cannibal became infamous not for what it showed, but for the ideas it suggested. Its atmosphere is tense, its pacing is deliberate, and its conversations feel uncomfortably real. Viewers said it felt like a window into a world you should not be watching, and that effect alone was enough to spark bans and debates. It remains a whispered title among extreme cinema fans. Unusual, cold, and absolutely fearless in tone, it's a reminder that sometimes the quietest films leave the deepest mark. Number 14. The Untold Story, 1993. The Untold Story begins like a typical crime drama, but it quickly shifts into something far more unsettling. Set in Hong Kong during a time of rapid social change, the film follows an investigation that uncovers a series of disturbing clues. Instead of focusing on action or thrills, the movie leans into mood. Every scene is thick with tension. Every moment feels like a countdown. Even the calm sequences carry a strange, humming anxiety beneath them. What made the film controversial wasn't excessive detail, but the way it blended dark humor with a heavy, oppressive tone. Audiences at the time were used to dramas that kept a safe emotional distance. This one did the opposite. It forced viewers into close proximity with characters who were either hiding something or losing control. Censors in several Asian countries reacted strongly, calling its overall feeling too disturbing. Some regions cut large portions, while others halted release entirely. Even the home video editions were handled carefully, often with additional warnings. Despite the restrictions, The Untold Story became a legend. Its gritty visual style, bold editing choices, and unpredictable characters pushed 90s cinema toward more daring storytelling. Today it's remembered as a boundary-pushing crime drama that wouldn't let audiences relax. And maybe that's why it was such a problem when it first arrived. It refused to soften anything. Number 13. Evil Dead Trap 2, 1992. Evil Dead Trap 2 is not your typical sequel. Instead of repeating the strange, stylized horror of the first film, it takes a more psychological approach. The movie follows a young theater worker whose life begins to twist in unusual ways after a series of eerie events. Rather than showing anything directly, the film relies on shadow, suggestion, and a dreamlike structure that feels more like wandering through a nightmare than watching a traditional story. Its director, known for his unconventional style, fills every frame with hidden symbols and emotional hints. Characters rarely say exactly what they mean, and scenes drift from calm to deeply uncomfortable in seconds. That constant shift made many viewers uneasy, especially when the film touches on themes of loneliness, obsession, and disappearing identity. Across Asia, some countries restricted its release for being emotionally extreme and psychologically unsafe for younger viewers. Others delayed distribution entirely, worried that its surreal tone would be misunderstood. The film contains no direct graphic content, but its mood is so heavy and strange that it left audiences rattled. Today, Evil Dead Trap 2 is seen as a cult classic. Its bold visual choices, unpredictable pacing, and almost poetic sense of dread make it one of the most unique 90s thrillers. It proved that terror doesn't always come from what you see. Sometimes it comes from what you feel without explanation. Number 12. Guinea Pig, Mermaid in a Manhole, 1990. Few films from the 90s carried the same underground aura as Mermaid in a Manhole. Part of a Japanese anthology series known for pushing creative limits, this entry stands out for its unusual mixture of art, fantasy, and psychological darkness. The story focuses on an artist who discovers a mysterious figure living beneath the city. What follows is a surreal journey filled with symbolic imagery, shifting colors, and scenes that blur the line between imagination and reality. Unlike most films that cause bans or controversies, Mermaid in a Manhole avoids straightforward scares. Instead, it uses paint, sound, and emotional tension to create discomfort. Viewers often describe the film as beautiful and unsettling at the same time, a strange combination that made it impossible to forget. Censors across Asia took issue with the film's intense atmosphere and disturbing metaphors. It wasn't the visuals alone, but the emotional spiral the movie creates. Some countries halted screenings entirely, while others allowed only heavily edited versions. Over the years, the film developed a cult following. Fans praise its artistic courage, while critics still debate its meaning. It remains one of the most talked about titles in extreme underground cinema. Not because of shock, but because it dares to confront viewers with images and emotions that feel too close for comfort. Number 11. Eve's Bayou, 1997. At first glance, Eve's Bayou seems like a quiet family drama, but the moment it begins, something feels off. Set in a small southern town with thick atmosphere and lush, dreamlike visuals, the film follows a young girl whose world begins to unravel as hidden truths surface around her. The story combines memory, imagination, and emotional confusion to create a tone that feels both warm and strangely dangerous. What set the film apart was its willingness to explore difficult themes with an almost poetic intensity. Every scene is full of subtle tension. Every conversation carries unspoken meaning. Viewers are pulled into a mystery that grows heavier by the minute, even though the film avoids direct depictions of anything graphic or shocking. When the movie made its way across parts of Southeast Asia, some regions reacted strongly to its mature undertones, symbolic references, and emotionally charged storytelling. Restrictions were placed on screenings, and in some areas it was quietly removed from theatrical schedules. Officials described it as too emotionally complex and inappropriate for younger audiences. Eve's Bayou has since been praised as one of the most beautifully shot films of the decade. Its rich colors, haunting music, and layered writing turned it into a critical favorite. Yet the same qualities that made it powerful were the ones that made some regions hesitate. It proves that a film doesn't need extreme scenes to be considered intense. Sometimes emotion alone is enough. Number 10. Nikos the Impaler, 1998. Nikos the Impaler is one of those films that feels like it escaped from a forgotten corner of late 90s indie cinema. Shot with a tiny budget and an anything-goes attitude, it follows an ancient figure who is suddenly thrust into modern life. Instead of choosing a safe or predictable tone, the movie leans into a wild blend of old-world myth, outrageous humor, and a chaotic sense of momentum that never slows down. The reason it sparked bans in some regions wasn't due to explicit detail, but because of its loud, frantic energy and its exaggerated approach to conflict. Some countries felt the movie's extreme style, non-stop intensity, and heavy supernatural themes were too overwhelming for younger audiences. Local boards were especially concerned about scenes that combine fantasy elements with over-the-top confrontation, creating a tone that feels intentionally uncomfortable and unpredictable. What makes Nikos memorable today is its fearless personality. It doesn't try to look polished or fancy. It celebrates the messy, scrappy spirit of 90s underground filmmaking. There are moments that feel like a midnight comic book come to life, and others that feel like a chaotic fever dream captured on camera. Despite early restrictions, it eventually became a cult favorite. Its charm lies in its refusal to play by the rules. Nikos the Impaler is loud, strange, and absolutely committed to its style, the very reasons it was pushed off screens in the first place. Number 9. The Killer Inside Me, 1995. Before the famous 2010 version existed, Japan created its own adaptation of The Killer Inside Me in the mid-90s, and it carried a tone that startled many viewers. Instead of flashy action, it dives into the mind of a troubled lawman whose calm surface hides deeper issues. The film is slow, quiet, and intensely psychological, showing how a person can lose themselves when their emotions spiral out of control. The real controversy arrived because of the movie's tone, cold, isolated, and unusually direct in its emotional darkness. Censors in several regions felt the film created an unhealthy sense of discomfort, especially during scenes where the character's inner turmoil takes center stage. Some areas insisted on cuts, while others decided not to release it at all, describing it as too emotionally unsettling for general audiences. Despite the resistance, the film built a reputation among fans of psychological cinema. Viewers praised its commitment to atmosphere, its moody visual style, and its deliberate pacing. It doesn't rely on thrills or fast storytelling. Instead, it presents a portrait of a character slowly losing control, and that slow decay is where the real intensity lies. The Killer Inside Me remains one of the most overlooked 90s adaptations. It's restrained yet heavy, simple yet hypnotic, a film that leaves its weight in the air long after the credits fade. Number 8. Organ, 1996. Organ is one of the most unusual films to emerge from Japan's experimental scene of the mid-90s. Rather than focusing on straightforward scares, it builds its impact through shadows, echoing hallways, and a sense of dread that spreads slowly from scene to scene. The story follows a group of investigators who discover a hidden operation connected to missing people. As they dig deeper, the world around them becomes stranger, and their sense of reality starts to blur. Several countries restricted the film because of its grim atmosphere and emotionally draining tone. Boards argued that certain scenes created a lingering sense of fear that was inappropriate for younger viewers. Some regions demanded significant edits to soften its psychological intensity, while others decided the safest option was to withhold screenings entirely. Organ's visual style is what sets it apart. It uses dim lighting, claustrophobic rooms, and eerie props to create a world that feels broken and unsafe. The characters wander through spaces that look more like abandoned dreams than real places. Nothing is explained clearly, and that confusion becomes part of the experience. Today, fans consider Organ a fascinating piece of experimental cinema. It's dark, messy, and haunting, a film that pushes atmosphere to its limits, proving that what you imagine is often more frightening than what you see. Number 7. Men Behind the Sun. 4. Black Sun, The Nanking Massacre, 1995. The fourth entry in the Men Behind the Sun series took a bold and challenging approach to historical storytelling. Instead of presenting events through a polished theatrical lens, the movie uses stark visuals, cold colors, and a documentary-style tone to recreate a chapter of history marked by tragedy and conflict. It focuses on the emotional impact of a city caught in the middle of a violent era, following both civilians and young soldiers as fear spreads across every street. When it was released, several countries felt the film's portrayal of suffering was too intense for general audiences. Rather than pointing to individual scenes, boards cited the film's overall emotional heaviness and grim tone as reasons for restriction. In some regions, the movie was allowed only with major edits. In others, it was blocked completely to avoid distress among younger viewers. Despite the bans, the film built a strong reputation among historians and cinema fans who admired its unfiltered approach. Instead of glamorizing anything, it focuses on hardship, uncertainty, and the way ordinary people struggle during chaotic times. Black Sun is not an easy watch. It's not meant to be. It holds a mirror to a moment many would rather forget. And while that honesty caused bans, it also made the film an important reminder of how deeply cinema can confront the past. Number 6. Gemini, 1999. Gemini from the late 90s is a visual maze dressed as a psychological thriller. Directed by Shinya Tsukamoto, known for his bold and metallic style, the film follows a respected doctor whose life is shaken when a mysterious figure appears with a face startlingly similar to his own. From that point on, the story becomes a reflection on identity, memory, and the secrets families hide beneath polished exteriors. The film's controversy came less from content and more from emotion. Its tone is cold, strange, and dreamlike, with imagery that feels like stepping into someone else's subconscious. Several countries restricted it due to its intense symbolism, eerie atmosphere, and a few unsettling sequences involving medical procedures. Boards worried that the film's surreal approach and heavy symbolism might disturb younger viewers. What makes Gemini unforgettable is its craftsmanship. Every scene is framed like a painting. Every shadow feels deliberate. Tsukamoto mixes elegant costumes, misty landscapes, and uneasy silence to build a world that feels both beautiful and dangerous. Over the years, critics have grown to appreciate the film's ambition. It blends elegance with unease in a way few thrillers do. Gemini is unsettling without being graphic, emotional without being sentimental, and artistic without losing its edge, a rare combination that led to both admiration and bans. Number 5. Normal Life, 1996. Normal Life looks like an ordinary drama at first glance, but the moment it starts, you realize something is quietly unraveling beneath the surface. Based on real events, the film follows a young couple who fall deeply into a complicated love that soon turns unpredictable. Their relationship begins with hope and excitement, but slowly spirals as financial strain, impulsive decisions, and emotional instability creep in, like cracks spreading across glass. The movie doesn't rely on large set pieces or dramatic shouting. Instead, it builds its intensity through quiet moments where characters make choices they can't take back. Each scene grows heavier, showing how two people can lose control without realizing it. That slow emotional collapse made the film controversial. Some regions felt its realistic portrayal of unstable behavior was too distressing for younger audiences. To them, the movie's tone, not any individual scene, was the real issue. What makes Normal Life memorable is its honesty. It doesn't paint heroes or villains. It shows two people trying their best, failing, and getting lost inside their own decisions. The performances feel painfully real, and the film's grounded style gives every moment a sense of inevitability. It's a story about love pushed to the edge, and that emotional weight was enough to get it banned or quietly limited in several areas. Number 4. Dust Devil, 1992. Dust Devil unfolds like a desert myth told around a campfire, half real and half legend. Set in the wide-open spaces of Namibia, the film follows a mysterious wanderer whose arrival seems to bring trouble with it. The story blends folklore with psychological drama, creating a world where heat haze bends reality and danger feels just out of sight. Director Richard Stanley crafted the film with eerie accuracy, drawing inspiration from local stories about shape-shifting spirits and restless travelers. Instead of relying on jump scares, Dust Devil uses atmosphere. Long shots of empty roads, swirling dust, and quiet sunsets create a feeling that someone is always being watched. When the movie was completed, some regions insisted on removing large sections. Officials argued that the film's tone felt too unsettling, and that its intense visual symbolism might cause discomfort. As a result, multiple versions existed for years, some heavily cut, others nearly unreleased. Despite this, Dust Devil became a cult treasure. Fans admire its daring, storytelling, strong symbolism, and bold blend of mystery and fear. It's the kind of film that doesn't chase scares, it lets them linger in the background until you feel them without noticing. The bans only added to its legend, turning it into one of the most atmospheric films of the 90s. Number 3. Man Bites Dog, 1992. Man Bites Dog is one of the most unique films of the 90s, using a documentary style to create something both darkly comedic and deeply unsettling. The movie follows a small film crew shadowing a charismatic man who leads a double life. What begins as simple observation soon turns strange as the crew becomes more involved in his daily routine. The brilliance of the movie lies in its approach. Instead of dramatic music or stylized visuals, it uses handheld cameras, natural lighting, and unscripted moments to feel disturbingly real. The viewer becomes another member of the crew, pulled along as the situation grows more chaotic. This was the exact reason the film was banned in several countries. Boards argued that the movie blurred the line between entertainment and real behavior too effectively, creating a sense of unease that felt too convincing for younger audiences. But that realism is also what made the film a critical success. It captures the uncomfortable truth about how people can become desensitized when observing harmful behavior from a safe distance. The deeper the movie goes, the clearer its message becomes. Watching something is not the same as being separate from it. Man Bites Dog remains a daring commentary on media, responsibility, and curiosity. It is bold, fearless, and difficult to forget. Number 2. Singapore Sling, 1990. Singapore Sling is a film that defies almost every storytelling rule and embraces a surreal, dreamlike style from the first frame. Set in a decayed mansion and shot entirely in moody black and white, the movie feels like a forgotten noir story that wandered off the rails into a world of psychological chaos. It follows a detective searching for a missing woman, only to be drawn into a household where nothing is predictable and every moment feels slightly off balance. Director Nikos Nicolades crafted the film with a theatrical style, slow pacing, echoing conversations, and long pauses that create an atmosphere thick enough to touch. The visuals are eerie and elegant at the same time, mixing old Hollywood glamour with unsettling behaviors. When it was released, many regions found its surreal tone and emotionally charged scenes too intense. Boards worried that younger viewers would not understand the symbolic nature of the storytelling and might be disturbed by the film's constantly shifting mood. Some areas restricted it entirely, while others released it only in limited late-night screenings. Despite these limitations, the film became a quiet cult masterpiece. Fans admire its courage to be strange, its poetic sense of mystery, and its powerful performances. Singapore Sling stands as a reminder that films don't need big effects to be unforgettable. Sometimes mood alone is enough to earn a ban. Number 1, Audition, 1999. Audition begins with the softness of a simple romance and ends as one of the most talked about films of the decade. Directed by Takashi Miike, it tells the story of a widowed man encouraged by a friend to meet new people. He organizes a gentle casting call and is immediately drawn to a quiet, graceful young woman with a mysterious past. For almost half the film, everything feels calm, delicate, and almost peaceful, but slowly the tone shifts. The music becomes quieter, the lighting colder, the conversations more cryptic. The film turns into a psychological descent, where reality and imagination blend together. Miki allows tension to build one breath at a time until the calm surface finally breaks. When Audition began screening internationally, several regions reacted strongly to its final act. Officials argued that its emotional impact and sudden tonal shift were too distressing for younger viewers. Some countries demanded cuts, others banned it outright for its intensity. What makes Audition remarkable is not what it shows, but what it suggests. It is a study of trust, fear, and the danger of not knowing who someone truly is. Meek crafts every moment with quiet precision, proving that the human mind can be the scariest landscape of all. Audition has since become a modern classic beautifully made, deeply affecting, and impossible to watch without feeling something twist inside. And there you have it. 12 films from the 90s that didn't just push boundaries, they stepped right over them, leaving entire regions unsure how to react. Some were banned for tone, others for atmosphere, and a few simply felt too strange for the decade they arrived in. If you discovered a new title today, tell me which one caught your eye. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into cinema's forgotten corners. The next chapter might surprise you even more.